Let me just preface this by saying Space Marine 2 is probably a perfectly acceptable product. As a game, I'm sure it's fine. But I think it represents everything wrong with the gaming industry as a whole and the direction that things are heading for products that are coming out in the future and products that have come out before this game. And when I say that, I'm specifically referring to the Steam release of the game. I have no point of reference for the console versions outside of general statements that I've seen online and from people I've talked to. But, that said, my stance still stands that I feel like this is not a good thing to have come out. Let's take a look here. It says mostly positive, 20,000 reviews. 78% though is a lot higher than it was in the very advanced access. Nearly, I want to say 5 days ago or something like that. I'm recording this on Sunday. I can't remember when it first dropped, but it was a while ago. And it had, I believe it was sub 50% at one point due to a alarming trend I've seen with games on Steam, where the company will take a deal with Epic to smash in Epic Online Services and easy anti-cheat, and they will not disclose this ahead of time, will still continue to run pre-orders, not disclosing this information, and gamers generally really don't like that. But this number here, this over 20,000 people, whips, please don't do that, Steam. I just wanted to highlight. There's this trend where people will hop on a game because it is the popular new thing. And I hate that trend because it allows for games to get a score I don't believe they deserve. That scummy, underhanded tactic should land this game a very negative score. But much like with Helldivers 2 initially getting very, very popular, it reached outside of its audience. Helldivers 2 was very, very popular because it spread like wildfire, and then immediately dropped off when a lot of those players got bored of the game, and then steadily the other issues came through and the game rapidly declined, and Arrowhead didn't listen, and yada yada yada. And this game has been hyped up as being what Helldivers 2 should have been. But I disagree, because this is not trying to be what Helldivers 2 should have been. This is trying to be a typical generic live service garbage title. Let's not even just keep saying what's wrong with it. Let's go look at these issues. Let's find it. These are all trailers. Here's what we want. This right here shouldn't exist. This sort of stuff needs to stop. Stop adding like plans and roadmaps and like promising stuff for down the line. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like this is not a good trend. Like, sure, add content down the line, but don't do it like this, where to me it looks like this is deliberately just a bunch of cosmetic packs, which is what Call of Duty does. They add a handful of very small, bits of gameplay related stuff, and they add a bunch of cosmetics. And the thing with the original Space Marine game from, I think it's over 10 years ago now, actually I think it's definitely over 10 years ago, they didn't have PvP. They didn't have multiplayer of any kind that I can recall, because it was supposed to be a single-player story game. There was not supposed to be this focus on co-op and this focus on somehow trying to make it a live service game that people would play for an extended period of time. Warhammer games on PC already have massive player count drops because Games Workshop just keeps screwing everything up for this franchise, and the core audience is sick of it. Do I think Space Marine 2 is bad because of Games Workshop? No. I think it's bad because of Epic and because of Focus and Saber. I think they're specifically to blame. But Games Workshop definitely is scummy, and I think that both of the games people and Games Workshop's people are equally ruining this game and franchise. But I don't think that's why this game is the way it is. I think that is because of, as I said, the way the industry is just kind of going. There are other games that have come out that have proven that this doesn't need to be the way this goes. Like, I'm sorry, but to this day, I still point to titles like Baldur's Gate 3 for you can be wildly successful and do anything but what the industry trend is. I feel like this game could have been wildly successful and looked back upon very fondly in 10 years, much like the first one, had they not done all of these things and made it basically be forced to be played online. Apparently, the only thing that works offline permanently everywhere is the single-player campaign. Which, to my understanding, based on what I've seen, is a very small portion of the content. I don't like that in a game that is supposed to be a sequel to a single-player game. Your game should not be primarily focusing on making itself live service as a sequel. And it disgusts me. But more critically that disgusts me, it's another one of those stealth installs of an Epic-related product. And I have never seen a game I'm sorry, not just a game. Games do this so frequently where they don't disclose it. And it's still not disclosed. If you look here on this right side, you'll notice as I scroll back up again, it says it requires a third-party EULA. It doesn't say that it has any stealth install of these online services from Epic. It doesn't say that it installs Epic anywhere, which is frankly not okay. Like, I'm sorry, but other games have a warning similar to this where it says outright that it installs, a third-party, application onto your computer. And if it, says that, that means that it's usually something like Denuvo or Easy Anti-Cheat. And those games do disclose that. But this one still hasn't. And yet you can buy it early access still. You pre-ordered it. Ages ago, you could start pre-ordering this. For $100, you could get all sorts of fancy cosmetics and this, that, and the other thing, and they still didn't disclose that it's going to stealth install something that a lot of people have issues with. And a lot of the reviews don't mention that, and we'll get to those in a bit, but that's not the major problem, in my opinion. That's, okay, fine. That's incredibly scummy. Do I think the game should be taken down for it? No. But I definitely think that they should be penalized for not doing this. I think that the game should be halt all sales until you do it, or somebody should, maybe change it and just give them a fine, something like that, to heavily decentivize basically what is lying to your consumers. But, whatever. That's fine. But there are other issues. And those issues are in these, reviews down here, where people basically ignore the major problems. Finally, a solid game with solid gameplay, various modes, and variety of customizations options with all crappy microtransactions. This is objectively true right now, but it is explicitly listed that DLC is coming, there will be microtransactions, and there's Twitch integration for Twitch drops, and I'm sorry, but your review is just basically a lie. Yeah, there's none of that at this exact moment, but it is coming. That's not up for debate. You're lying in your review. Disgusting, scummy, you're not mentioning anything seriously wrong with the game. Then you've got this other guy that says, don't buy it for the multiplayer crap. Don't buy it for the multiplayer, it's crap. Story and co-op are really good and challenging. MP is just a bad remake of Gears of War. I hate the way that that's in all caps, and the kerning is awful, and he's, really bad with spelling, and, syntax and whatnot, but that's fine, because the sentiment is there. He thinks the story is good, but the multiplayer is bad. Unfortunately for him, that's 2/3 of the game that he thinks are bad, but yet he gave it a good review with almost 7 hours of gameplay here. That's a little weird, but whatever. Servers can be iffy at times. Applied cosmetics can reset if you're unlucky, and post-story operations mode could definitely use more missions added. Yeah, I agree. If a game comes out like that with iffy servers, that's worth noting. But I don't think that, a game where 2/3 of the game requires server usage should get a positive review when it's a absolute disgusting shit pile. And then there's reviews like this that Steam is actively working about, which is, get rid of just shitpost reviews where they have no value and they just increase the score and it's bad. I don't like that. So I think that Valve should get rid of these entirely. This should be its own category that isn't counted in the ranking system, because this doesn't say anything about the game. This is just a thumbs up, boosting the score, doesn't tell the consumer anything. Reviews like 8 Xenos, no. For the Emperor, no. Brutally fantastic gameplay, that is a review, but I feel like you have to have multi-paragraph reviews for your score to be counted. I feel like you have to say something about the game before your score can be counted. There should be 2 metrics: overall score and review score. If you want to add a shitpost review, I feel like you should, you can be able to do that, but your score should not be counted. It should go towards an overall metric, but not towards a consumer sentiment metric, if you will. A number that accurately represents the product as a whole. Amazon, weirdly enough, does a great job of this with, and I hate AI so fucking much, but their product on Amazon, their AI, whatever the hell it's called, don't know what it's called, but it goes through all the reviews, it reads through all of them, and it gives a brief summary of what all the reviews are saying. If there was a thing for Steam like that, above all the reviews, goes through every single review, and gives a brief summary, and hits the main points that the reviews are talking on, that would be fantastic. Because what that would do is it would stop shitpost reviews, and it would make it so that the product is being reviewed properly, and there's a condensed way of seeing it that links back to all the reviews that mention it, and it would make it so that products can't get these hyper-inflated scores while doing a lot of disastrous things for the industry, like lying to consumers, which will be a permanent red mark on the game, so that consumers know, hey, don't do this. This company's already lying to you before the product is even on full release. 20,000 early access reviews, which cost over $70 to get, is ridiculous. And I think that the average consumer doesn't care that much. But I think it is worth saying that it shouldn't be allowed. You should not be allowed to just release your product and have lied like this, where you just don't tell the consumer in any capacity. You're pre-ordering a game where we're going to stealth install stuff that Steam users have proven time and time again to really not like. And we're going to do this, that, and the other thing. But the main points I want to hit before I finish this up are that stealth install, reviews, and the way this game is going with just adding all of this content post-launch that's all just no, stop it. This is not good for gaming. You're definitely destroying the future of gaming by doing stuff like this and letting companies get away with it. Stop it. You're not Call of Duty. This should have been a single-player game. But over all of that, there are a few key points. Offline is restricted only to single player. Offline PvE does not save, so no progress is transferred when you do go back online. You have to be online for progress to save, meaning no offline play. There's 2 whole parts of the game that are multiplayer only. The AI is apparently awful. And in the pre-release version, on Steam, apparently, achievements don't function. It says it has Steam achievements, and I know it has achievements because I have seen discussions about it on console, but there are repeated threads in the forums and on pages related to this game all over the internet saying, why aren't there Steam achievements? When are they getting added? I hope they get added in, a day when this releases to the general public, but for right now, there's no Steam achievements, which is a lie. They're lying to the consumer. We have Steam achievements. Okay, well, your game's already available to play, and it doesn't have them. You shouldn't be able to say that unless they're fully functional. That's my opinion. That's a lie. The company is just lying over and over and over again. Is the main topic here, and that's scummy. I don't know if that's Saber's fault. I don't know if it's Focus's fault. I don't know if it's Games Workshop fault. In fact, I'm pretty certain it's not Games Workshop. I think they had nothing to do with this game outside of the IP being licensed. But regardless of whose fault it is, this is not a trend I like to see, where companies can lie and the general public can just make reviews that inflate the score without giving good information on the product and outweigh all of the reviews that mention the negatives. I feel like maybe a system that could work is something that has, you are mandated to state the positives, you are mandated to state the negatives. You have to give a comprehensive review, maybe, would work. Would it discourage people from writing reviews as a whole? Probably. But would it make things more helpful, I guess, to the consumer in deciding whether they want to buy a product? Absolutely. And I think that would be great. But obviously, I don't foresee that happening. I don't think Valve really cares all that much. And I feel like I'm usually just ranting into the wind. But I'm going to say it outright, and I'm going to say it right now. I think that this is a bad product. I feel like this is exactly what's wrong with gaming as a whole, and I hope this game dies. I hope it dies horribly before 2025. I hope before the end of the year, this product has basically no players to show that you can't just make your live service game based on an IP that has been ruined over and over and over again, and have it be a sequel to a cult classic. I hate that that's something I can call that. It's only been like a decade, but a cult classic single-player title and make it live service. You shouldn't be able to do that stuff. Your product should die for it. You should give people a product that is what it's supposed to be. I don't like this. It's a disturbing trend. That's about all I have to say.